es Estados Unidos e Israel. Nosotros no nos vamos a alinear con comunistas.
Now, when he was still campaigning, Argentina's new President Javier Milei threatened to cut ties with Beijing, favoring trade with the US and Europe.
Stories about the dollar. It seems China has declared a war on the greenback. Beijing is striking deals, strengthening trade ties, and asking partners to switch to the yuan to settle their bills. First, Brazil made the switch. Now Argentina has entered the club. Argentina will use the yuan for trade with China, and they'll start this month.
Why would a president who labeled China a communist dictatorship suddenly go running back to Beijing? Javier Milei, the outspoken anti-China critic, now seems like Beijing's #1 supporter. Did the US fumble the opportunity, or is China simply that skilled at winning over adversaries? Is this the dawn of South America turning into China's backyard? Let's explore. Javier Milei stormed into power as a bold libertarian reformer, vowing to transform Argentina. His campaign events were filled with sharp anti-China rhetoric. He called China a bloody communist dictatorship and pledged to sever ties with Beijing. For a moment, Milei became a Western favorite, a potential counterweight to China's rising presence in Latin America.
Nuestros ejes fundamentales son el libre comercio, la paz, la libertad y alinearnos con Occidente, digamos, donde los máximos referentes en esto para nosotros son Estados Unidos e Israel.
Y en cuanto a China, es uno de los socios principales de comercio.
Bueno, serán socios comerciales del sector privado. Nosotros no hacemos pacto con comunistas.
Pero entonces, ¿qué harías? O sea, ¿no cerrarías las relaciones de Argentina con China?
Yo no promovería la relación con comunistas, ni con Cuba, ni con Venezuela, ni con Corea del Norte, ni con Nicaragua, ni con China.
O sea, para Venezuela vas a cambiar la política.
Obviamente.
Claramente.
Then something astonishing happened. He made a drastic pivot. Argentina's economy was on the brink of collapse well before Milei assumed office. Inflation wasn't just high, it was devastating, soaring above 200% annually. The GDP was contracting, unemployment was rising, and poverty rates were exploding. The country was drowning in debt, owing $40 billion to the IMF, which is backed by the US. Milei quickly realized that his staunch anti-China stance would not resolve these economic catastrophes. China, however, came with swift solutions. Mere weeks after his inauguration, Milei accepted a $5 billion currency swap from Beijing to shore up Argentina's reserves. He also agreed to strengthen trade partnerships, especially for agricultural exports like soybeans and wheat. Why? Because Chinese products are both affordable and reliable, exactly what a failing economy needs. For Milei, this was more than just a pragmatic shift. It was a fight for economic survival. Western aid was burdened with conditions and too slow to address the immediate crisis. Meanwhile, Beijing acted decisively, providing the lifelines Argentina so desperately required. This wasn't merely a political shift, it sent a message across Latin America. China's economic model delivers. Yet the repercussions of Milei's pivot were immediate. His newfound embrace of China raised concerns in Washington and the West. Could Argentina maintain diplomatic ties with both superpowers? Or was this signaling a broader realignment in Latin America's geopolitical loyalties? Argentina's relationship with the US has always been complex. As one of the largest borrowers from the IMF, Argentina depends on Washington's favor to stabilize its fragile economy. But Milei's deepening ties with China have placed the country in a precarious position, balancing between the two largest economies in the world. On one side, Argentina needs the US, not just for IMF loans, but for access to Western markets. On the other side, China remains Argentina's fastest-growing trade partner, offering stable demand for exports like beef and corn while supplying affordable goods. Walking this diplomatic tightrope is not only delicate, it's unsustainable. Washington has already expressed its displeasure. The US has hinted at imposing tariffs on Argentine exports if the nation becomes too dependent on Beijing. These warnings are not just posturing. They underline the leverage Washington still holds. Yet Argentina has little room to maneuver. Alienating China could cost the country far more than risking American retaliation. This isn't solely Argentina's dilemma. Across Latin America, nations face a similar quandary: how to maintain ties with Washington without foregoing the opportunities offered by Beijing. For Argentina, the stakes are exceptionally high. A misstep could result in economic isolation or force the nation to choose sides in a global power struggle. But the larger reality is unmistakable. Washington isn't providing what Latin America urgently needs. While the US emphasizes sanctions and restrictions, China invests in trade, infrastructure, and economic growth. The issue is not whether Argentina can balance relations with both powers, it's how long such a balance can last. So experts are asking, is Latin America becoming Beijing's playground? Before we dive deeper, we'd love to know, are you enjoying this video? If you are, don't forget to like and share it. Also, subscribe to our channel for more insights on China's global rise. Let's continue. Once, the US held a firm grip on Latin America through economic dominance, political influence, and military interventions. Over the past 2 decades, however, that grip has weakened, creating a power vacuum. China has stepped in to fill it. Today, China is Latin America's largest trading partner, a position achieved through careful strategy. Beijing's approach is straightforward: fund infrastructure, offer competitive trade agreements, and refrain from interfering in domestic affairs. This formula has appealed to leaders across the region. Take Peru, for instance. The $1.3 billion Chancay mega port, funded by Chinese investment, has revolutionized Peru's role in global commerce by reducing shipping times to China by 30%, bypassing US-dominated routes like the Panama Canal. In Brazil, China's voracious appetite for soybeans has fueled an agricultural boom. In Chile, Chinese firms dominate the lithium market, securing critical resources for electric vehicles. China's influence isn't just economic, it's cultural. Mandarin classes are being offered by Confucius institutes across Latin America. Huawei is building the region's telecom infrastructure, and even Chinese entertainment is making inroads. For many Latin American countries, this isn't about ideology. It's about results. The US preaches democracy and human rights, yet fails to foster significant economic growth. China, conversely, delivers tangible outcomes: infrastructure, jobs, and access to markets. The decision is evident. But this shift poses a question: is China's growing dominance in Latin America beneficial? For now, the region seems content to align with Beijing. If you're wondering why Latin America leans toward China, look to Beijing's trade strategies. While the US prioritizes short-term gains and political leverage, China invests for the long haul. This approach creates win-win scenarios that Latin America finds irresistible. Consider BYD, China's electric vehicle titan. While Tesla focuses on selling luxury models to wealthy buyers, BYD floods Latin American markets with affordable EVs. Their strategy doesn't just increase market share, it establishes a local presence by setting up manufacturing plants, creating jobs, and transferring technology. Huawei provides another example. While Western firms charge steep rates for telecommunications services, Huawei offers cutting-edge, yet affordable alternatives. Despite US claims of security risks, Latin American governments see Huawei as indispensable. Perhaps China's greatest strength lies in infrastructure investments. Unlike the US, which often ties aid to political demands, China focuses on building projects that mutually benefit both sides. From Argentinian railways to Chilean mining operations, Beijing is laying the groundwork for enduring growth. Meanwhile, the US clings to outdated methods like tariffs and sanctions, pushing Latin America further into China's orbit. If Washington wants to compete, it must adopt a radically different strategy. For now, though, the scoreboard is clear. China is pulling ahead. Let's face it, the US is losing South America. Meanwhile, China isn't merely winning. It's reshaping the game. By emphasizing trade, infrastructure, and mutual progress, Beijing has shifted the balance of power. As Washington relies on antiquated tactics, China is building its vision for the future. For Argentina and the broader region, the choice is stark: align with a declining superpower or partner with a rising one. While the US struggles to adapt, Beijing is crafting the global order to its advantage. We'd like to thank you for sharing your thoughts and perspectives in the comments. Your insights always inspire us. So, what do you think? Can the US win back Argentina? Or is this the start of a world where China holds the reins? Tell us in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for exclusive content on China's growth and influence. Stay tuned for the next video.